Hello, StarkNet family. Welcome back to the Star Cafe. I'm Nur Star, your personal Star barista, and once again, we are ready to serve you with some very special StarkNet content. Well, my friends, the topic of today is DeFi and DeFi insurance and options trading, as we asked Marek from Carmine Options. Hello, Marek. How are you? Welcome to the Star Cafe.
Hi. I'm good, and thanks for having me here. It's awesome.
Yeah, the pleasure is mine, and it's been a while. I wanted to invite you to the cafe in order to talk about Carmine, which is one of the most used DeFi protocols on Starknet. So congratulations for that. And well, Marek,
Yeah.
let's start our episode immediately by telling us a bit about your background and how you began building on Starknet. The floor is yours.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So, actually, I did quite a few things in my career, but my original background is financial time series econometrics. So, like, imagine like investing, high frequency trading, and things like this, and statistics and AI around it. So that's what I did in school and what I did right after the school. So I spent quite a few years doing high frequency trading of stocks. Then I actually, or during that, I was also pursuing PhD, which by the way I failed just because the work was so much more fun. But I learned quite a lot around risk and risk management while I was doing the PhD. Uh, and after that, I did a few projects where we were actually building startups for big enterprises, big corporations. So imagine banks, insurance companies, and so on. And I think it's almost 3 years back where I went into blockchain, and I joined a friend of mine, and we did liquidations on Aave, Compound, and we did high frequency trading on decentralized exchanges, actually like order book driven decentralized exchanges, which was very interesting and very different to like traditional finance. And yeah, after that, basically 1.5 years ago, I started Carmine. Basically, the idea was that I wasn't able to find a good options protocol, and I felt like it's not that complicated to design one. So yeah, that's kind of like my background and what I did in the past and how I ended up on Starknet. So yeah, and in terms of like why Starknet, there are actually like three reasons. One was I got introduced to Starknet by Milan Chermak, who I used to work with and who's a friend of mine, and we do Starknet meetups in Prague. And he basically told me that it's the place to go, that yeah, place to go, place to be. So I researched a little. I liked the tech, and after a few weeks, basically when I had maybe a few hundred lines of code behind me, I got introduced to Uri, which is like back then for me it was insane because like I had basically nothing, and CEO of $8 billion company was talking to me and giving me advice on what to do and how to do it and so on. So uh, that was that felt like a different thing, and yeah, that was yeah felt awesome.
Awesome journey, Marek, and it is very good to know that you have a solid TradFi experience, and you are now blending it with DeFi primitives, and
Yeah.
so I think you have a bright future ahead of you. And yeah, did you want to add something?
Uh,
No.
no. Yeah, I feel like the essentially like all of my career led to this point to build Carmine and to like start taking care of risk on chain actually and finance on chain.
Yeah, very good. So I suppose that that kind of experience, from TradFi is quite useful for you, right?
Oh yeah, it gives you like completely different perspective on how things work, right? So, for example, like when I compare this to my wife, how she looks at things, it's for her, it's given thing is either going to happen or not. So it's 50-50 chance that something will happen, right? But in trading, it's you're essentially looking at world in a probabilistic way. So you're kind of like assigning probabilities to different scenarios, looking at it in a way that maybe this will happen, maybe that will happen. What are the probabilities? What are the consequences? What are the win-win scenarios to go about things? And you can like start looking at it also from perspective of expected value of your actions, and what is the kind of like risk toward around the expected value, which is again like what we do in Carmine, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you start developing this kind of analytical mind, right? Where you try your best to figure out all the possible, ends, all the possible, consequences of your actions as well. So yeah, that's pretty good. And well, Marek, before diving deep into this options trading protocol that Carmine is,
Yeah.
seeing that you have a lot of TradFi experience, it would be nice to help those listeners who are not very familiar with financial instruments like options, helping them understand what options are in simple words.
Yeah.
So yeah, feel free to give us an nullified.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'm gonna do very simple one, and then I'm gonna start complicate things, because there is a lot that goes into it. So like if you're like completely new, like I'm gonna tell you, hey, this is what you have to know. And if you already understand it a little, I'm kind of like gonna extend your understanding around this. So essentially, option is a right to buy or sell something at a predetermined price at a predetermined moment in time, right? So imagine that I would want to buy ETH in a month, and let's say I would want to buy it in at $1,700, right? Per ETH, and I believe that the price would go up. So I can actually buy a call option that gives me the right to do that, right? So uh, in a month, I would have the right to buy ETH at 1,700, no matter what the price would be, right? So even if the price would jump to 3,000, I still would be buying it for 1,700. The same goes vice versa, right? So, for example, I would want to guarantee. For example, let's say I'm not sure what's going to happen with the price of ETH, but I know I want to sell one in a month. So I could say, hey, I'm buying a put option that's going to give me the right to sell ETH, and I'm buying it at 1,600 strike price. So if the price would go to, for example, 1,000, I would still be selling it at 1,600, right? Which means that it guarantees me minimal price at which I would sell it, which is insanely important for hedging and also for insurance, right? Because like put option, it could be also described in a way, um, basically it described in an insurance way. So imagine you would insure your ETH that you can sell it for at least 1,600, right? So for example, let's say you put significant amount of your life savings into ETH or Bitcoin or whatever, and you're afraid what's going to happen if it drops 20% below, right? Which can happen, and it's going to happen. Chances are it's going to happen down the line, right? But that could have a huge impact on your life. So you could buy this insurance, which is the put option, and that would guarantee you minimal value of that ETH or Bitcoin or something, right? So that's kind of like what an option is. So that's mainly for those who didn't know in the past. what was it? And now to complicate it a little bit. And there are very, very interesting properties to options and to few other things on chain, right? So for example, insurance, options, and loans on chain are insanely similar because all of them are essentially if statements with market pricing. But they differ in when the cash flow is happening, right? So option is an if statement with a simple condition and expiration. Insurance is an if statement with a condition and expiration. Loan is also very, very similar to this. It also has inside of it if statement that can like converts towards liquidations, which means it's a tiny bit more complicated, but doesn't necessarily have expiration, right? So loans, insurance, and options are insanely similar on chain. And this gives us very, very cool properties in terms of what we can do, right? So for example, imagine that you just bought an apartment in, I don't know, Paris near the river, right? Or in London near Thames. So what you could do is you could insure your apartment against flooding, which is the same thing as buying a call option on the height of the river in London, right? This is very, very similar. So now you can like see the how the options relate to insurance in the real world also. And in terms of loans, some of the loan designs that are out there, for example, if you were to look at Aave, for example, or in Starknet's case, hashtag is a pretty good example. Those loans are essentially options, right? Because if the price goes below some level, you get liquidated, right? Which means you keep the minimal value that you borrowed, but the thing you put as collateral get liquidated. That's very, very similar to buying an insurance on, which means put option on given asset. Right? So I hope I didn't complicate it too much, but I just wanted to mention like these very, very interesting properties to options, right? So I kind of put in the explanation for those that had no idea what options are, and also like for those that already did, but I added some interesting info on top of it.
What a fantastic explanation of what options are, option trading is about as well. And yeah, I really like the fact that you divided it into, the basics explanation, and then you went deeper on it with a more advanced explanation. I really like that. And I must say that I learned a lot. I already knew something, but still, my knowledge about these complex financial instrument was still not very good. So this explanation helped me a lot. Thanks a lot for that. And before diving deeper into Carmine, I would like to say hello to our audience today. Hello Hit Daily. Hello Exodus. Hello Fabio. Hello How Something. Hello Kodawari. Hello Wara. Hey David. Thanks a lot, guys, for coming. And I would also like to remind you that you can support the Star Cafe, but also Carmine Options in the ongoing Gitcoin grants round. And you can simply go to the educational, to the Web3 community and education section to donate to the Nur Stars educational format. Among them, there is the Star Cafe. And regarding Carmine, you can support them, if I'm not wrong, in the Web3 open source software section. And am I right, Marek?
Yes, yes,
Very
yes, yes. Yeah, I just want to say like the Gitcoin grant, it feels like a huge success because we have more than 800 contributors, which is like a lot, and I mean a lot more than I expected when we were applying.
Exactly. Yeah. So that the Carmine Options Gitcoin grant is going pretty good. Congrats for that. And so is also ours. So I would like to say thank you to all of those who are donating to both of us. And yeah, I'm very grateful for that. We you still have I think 3 or 4 days to donate, so do not hesitate to contact me if you need some guidance in order to do so. And having said that, let's uh, let's have a look at what I mean at what the vision behind Carmine is. So tell us a bit about Carmine's journey on Starknet, and also what kind of milestones you have achieved during the past 10 months or
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. So the high level of vision is to take care of risk on chain, and to be a little bit more specific, to take care of financial risk that is standardized, and do it on chain, right? So that's the high level vision, and there is there is few things that comes into it, right? So there is the hedging and insurance, which is essentially the Carmine options AMM, and that's the heart of everything, and essentially in the center of everything that we are building and will be building on top of it. Um, and another part that goes into this is monitoring that we will be releasing relatively soon. We have already announced that we are working with zkland on this, and there will be a lot more coming. So yeah, that's kind of like the high level vision, and we want to do this across essentially all of the chains. But the idea is to have Starknet as kind of like a place with centralized equity, because if we wanted to do all of the products that we want to do on multiple chains, on all of the reasonable chains, it would be insanely hard on capital required. So what we will do is we will have essentially all of the capital and smart contracts on Starknet, and then we will have kind of like a node smart contracts that will be on other chains, and we are hoping to be using Herodotus and Wido to bridge or move the capital between Starknet and the node smart contracts and the different chains, and to bridge the information about pricing from Starknet to other chains. Uh, so that's kind of like the high level vision. And to be a little bit more specific, essentially, if I start in the past, we started developing sometime in May last year. Took us a while to build and develop everything. We had first smart contracts on testnet in I think October, but we released the testnet in December last year, and in April this year we released the mainnet. Right after that, in May, we were able to release governance smart contracts, and we distributed first batch of Carmine tokens. Uh, in following 2 months, we did two more distributions. The reason behind it was we wanted to reward the very, very early adopters, and we also wanted to be decentralized in terms of governance, basically from day one. So technically, it wasn't from day one, but it was from let's say day 30, right? We had a decentralized governance that was led by the community. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like in the past. By the way, in when it comes to the decentralized governance, we had a small bug in the governance smart contracts that were repaired, that were not exploitable. That's the main thing, and were repaired. But we had to get something like 75% of all of the votes, or something like that, which was insane. But we managed to do that, and the community came together, and we redeployed and upgraded everything, so it went fine. Uh, and in, I think, June, we started rewriting the smart contracts into Cairo 1. We've been progressing also on the governance smart contracts. It's quite likely that the governance, by the way, the governance smart contract that's fully written on in Cairo and is on Starknet. It also looks like that other protocols might be using this. But since there is no like confirmation at the moment, they are exploring the idea. I don't want to name them, but they are interested. Um, And in July, we released insurance against price drops. So essentially, this means that if you are afraid that ETH, for example, ETH will go below some value, you can insure against it. So let's say that you're afraid that it's going to drop below 1600, and you're afraid that it's going to happen, and you would like to be repaid if it happens. You can get insured, and if it goes for example, 1500 and you insured for 1600, you're going to get $100 for each insured ETH. So that was this. We will very, very soon be releasing hedging against impermanent loss. We have some collaborations that will more than likely happen. But the partners basically they wanted to announce once they review everything. So we will release hopefully, if everything goes well, we will release that tomorrow. It's going to be available on the Carmine Finance webpage. So that's very, very exciting, and it's going to be released for testnet because we have to test everything properly because that is a relatively complex thing to do. So it's going to be released on testnet. So if you would like to play around with it and figure out how it works, you're going to be able to. The idea is that it's going to be tested and reviewed. Obviously, once that happens, it's going to go on mainnet. At the moment, we don't have timeline for the mainnet, but we're hoping it's going to happen pretty quickly. But again, that's going to be dependent on how the users are able to test it and how much feedback we're gonna get. After that, what's going to happen is we're also going to be releasing a new testnet that's going to be written in Cairo 1. That's going to happen within September, and it's going to be there will be testnet governance. There will be testnet smart contracts for everything written in Cairo 1. So we will be testing extensively this. After the testing and reviews, we're going to do an audit. And if everything goes well, we're going to release it beginning of November. But again, important thing is if everything goes well. So that's this. Those things are in terms of the options. And in terms of the monitoring that I mentioned earlier, we're going to be by the end of September, we're going to finish open sourced version of monitoring of basically risk of under the water loans. So we're going to be standardizing loans from all of the Starknet's lending protocols. Same for AMMs, and we're essentially going to look at how much debt outstanding is there and how much available liquidity is there for liquidations. And we're going to basically provide the measures for the risk. And on top of this, we will be, but it's going to be, there will be quite a few things that will also go into this, just because in reality, it's not as simple as I described, but I try to simplify it. And with this, it's going to be actually the underlying tool for ensuring lending protocols against the under the water loans risk, right? So imagine like you're staking on a lending protocol, your staked capital gets lended to the borrowers. and there is a small risk of these loans not being liquidated when they should be. So what's going to happen is if that happens, uh, and if the lending protocol insures against it, Carmine will provide the payout for, or the Carmine protocol will provide the payout for the protocol, lending protocols, and the stakers, right? So, by the way, this is usually done through security pools. For example, Aave, they have $300 million in the security pool. So essentially, like we can the business model is that we will be able to decrease the need for such big security pools. So it's going to be very, very valuable for the lending protocols because they will save a lot of money, and that means that the stakers and of those lending protocols and token holders of those lending protocols will be making a lot more money on their activity and their tokens. And Carmine options AMM at the same moment will have a lot more volume happening just because of this, right? So this is kind of like a short-term path. We want to take this monitoring and spread it across different chains so that we have kind of like a lending path towards bringing the options to other chains and having and as I mentioned, having the startnet smart contracts as a center for all of the liquidity, but bringing the volumes and the traders and the users from other chains to actually to startnet, right? So that's also part of this. And we have kind of like several other ideas that will have to happen. We just don't have the timeline for them. So, for example, we want to do option vaults. So imagine something like Ribbon Finance or Popcorn Network. We want to do this too. We just don't have the timeline for it, and today we don't have the capacity. So if someone comes in and says they want to do this, we would be more than supportive. We would actually hand over all of the materials and allow those developers to build this. Just because it would bring so much value to the Carmine community that we believe that's the right way to go. So yeah, and what's going to come after that? By the way, this is very, very important. The option vaults are very important because it's going to help us to be more capital efficient in terms of insurance. And it's going to allow users to underwrite options and to underwrite insurance contracts without having a lot of understanding, just because those will be well designed in terms of risk management. That's kind of like what we are aiming for, right? And obviously, one of the important features that's going to come also is leveraging, which is relatively big thing. In an ideal world, we wouldn't do it on our own, just because there are potential partners that would be able to do this very, very well. But we will see what's going to happen, whether it's going to be done directly within the Carmine options AMM, or whether we will suggest using third-party service actually.
Awesome. All of this is very exciting, and I'm really looking forward to seeing this vision, the Carmine vision, being implemented, being fully implemented in the coming months and years. And also, congrats for the impressive achievements, both in terms of number of users and also total, trading volume. And
Yep.
you also answered to my next question, which was about the future, but you already answered
Sorry.
to me. But no worries, no, it's not a problem. But yeah, I have some follow-up questions. Maybe we'll close our episode with these ones, and I'll blend both of them into one question, which is like, how does the Carmine protocol make money? In the sense that
Yep.
obviously providing options is like providing a service, right? So I suppose there are some kind of fees and stuff like that, right? And then tell us a bit more about the token. Like, for example, is it on sale yet? Or like, where is it on Ethereum L1? You know, this kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the protocol will make money from trading fees essentially. That's the idea. At the moment, all fees that would go towards the protocol are switched off because we believe that at the moment more important thing is to have the best conditions rather than and also we have some money to finance the project. So we don't have the need, but we will at some point we will switch on the fees. The initial idea was that it's going to be some percentage or some proportion of the premiums that are paid on the Carmine options AMM. But this will have to go through the governance, and I assume that there will be that it's going to be important discussion, and there will be a lot of feedback that will go into this. So it's likely that this is going to change, and the design will be a little bit more complex. So that's how the token holders will be making profits or money on the tokens, Carmine tokens. And in terms of the Carmine token, what we did was we initially, like in the early days, we distributed some tokens to the early adopters, just because we believe that being community governed is very, very important. So we wanted to have that. So we did it. We stopped the distribution, and we will go towards or we're moving towards kind of like a standard airdrop that's going to happen down the line. And in terms of the utility of the token is essentially like governance and utility token. What it means is that any upgrade that is happening in the protocol has to go through the governance, and the governance is governed by the token holders. So if you own Carmine tokens, you can vote on the governance proposals, right? And you can give your feedback and so on. You can propose stuff and so on. That includes kind of like the fees. So my idea is that the fees will go towards treasury, and then the treasury will be managed by the token holders, by the governance. So if the governance decides to do kind of like dividends, it's going to happen. Or if the governance decides to invest into new features, the governance will be able to take the money from the treasury and invest into the new features, right? In terms of like how the tokens could be used, for example, in kind of like a curve style staking, this is still under discussion. So we're looking into it. We're looking into different ways how to motivate users to hold on to the tokens and not just dump it once it becomes tradable. So that's another aspect that will go into this. Again, this will have to be approved by the governance. So like anyone can join in the discussion and suggest like proposals towards this. And in terms of being able or not being able to buy Carmine tokens, at the moment it's not possible. We intentionally made the token non-transferable initially, and the transferability will happen 12 months after the mainnet launch, which is April next year. Which means today, if you hold Carmine tokens, those tokens are kind of like bound to your wallet. But those will be freed in April next year, or sooner if governance decides to do so. And also with the freeing of the tokens, making them transferable, we're also going to allow for trading of the tokens. So the token will be listed. We haven't made a decision on where. We've been discussing few possibilities how to do this, but we haven't made a decision. and the governance haven't made a decision either, right? So everything is open at the moment. What might happen and what we are still discussing is how we will finance an audit of the Cairo 1 smart contracts. So there might be very, and I mean very limited token sale in the autumn to finance the audit. But again, we're not sure about it, and we didn't even propose this to the governance, right? So these are kind of like things that we are thinking of that are important to that are important to know when it comes to the token, but not necessarily decisions haven't been made on these.
Very good, Marek. It's very fascinating the way you are approaching governance, and also the way you structure the token generation, and the schedule and the roadmap associated with the token. It is very well thought. And having said that, we are coming to the end of our Star Cafe. But before that, I would like to thank Madman, David, Wada, Galatea, Kodawari, or something, Exodus, Daily for coming today and taking some of their precious time to listen to this amazing episode about Carmine and options trading. I remind you, and also I remind to those listeners who will listen to us later on, that you can support both the Star Cafe and Carmine options in the ongoing Gitcoin grants round, which is going to last for another 3 days. And there you will be able to support the Star Cafe in the educational section, in the Web3 community education section, under the name Nurstar's educational content. Just type Nurstar and you'll find it. Meanwhile, you can also support Carmine, and in the open source software category, and hopefully they'll be able to use some of that money also to fund the audit, which is a very important thing. And having said that, I would also like to thank Marek for coming and explaining to us in a very simple and clear way what Carmine option is about. Thanks a lot, Marek.
Yeah, thank you for having me, and especially thank you to all of the listeners who came and who joined, and to all of those that will join and listen later.
Amazing, Marek. Thanks a lot once again. So, guys, it's time to close. Remember to share the Starknet vibe, and see you next time. Bye. Bye, everybody. Bye, Madman. Bye, David. Wara. Bye, Galatea. Bye, Kodawari, or something. Daily Exodus and Marek. See you next time. Take care.
See you. Bye bye.
See you.